It's time to talk sports. It's Hacksaw's Headlines, a panorama of the world of sports, stories, comments, and opinions. Now, here's iconic sports talk show host Lee Hacksaw Hamilton and co-host John Riley.
Who wants to talk sports on a Monday? We do, you do. From the DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Center studios in San Diego, coming off a great Christmas break, we welcome you to our Monday bonus podcast. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, along with my co-host, John Riley, with his opinions from left field, and we welcome you to our podcast, Hacksaw's Headlines, brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers. Lots of locations serving San Diego for more than 100 years with their special tool displays. One of the reasons we want you guys who are sports fans to think about shopping at DIXIELINE Lumber. Have a good Christmas. Damn right we had a good Christmas. Yeah. Happy holidays to you. Good to be back here in town. And our Christmas gift to the people on the podcast was the first podcast you and I ever did, the experimental podcast, Hacksaw's History. And I guess you got some responses to it.
Yeah, there's a lot of great responses, man. So hopefully we'll get into that, but lots of Hacksaw love back in the day.
Yeah, we got an awful lot to talk about coming off this great sports weekend. We're going to cover Major League Baseball because we are baseball-centric. We still got big names out there in free agency. All things NFL. Here come the playoffs. Absolute ton of showdown games in college football. And, of course, when we're done, because we do sports talk the way I want it to be done on my podcast, topics on the table with opinions. When we're done, you take it over. It's called Fans Forum. John, for the people with us on live stream, how does it work?
How does it work? Okay, this is your chance to get involved. You have a question in the world of sports, really anything. You know, we got a lot going on in the world of sports right now. So drop your question or your comment for Hacksaw in the live chat on X, on YouTube, or on Facebook. We'll get you involved in Fans Forum.
Just a forewarning. I'm on the clock. I spent 18 hours trying to get back here from Minnesota and Michigan and didn't get here till 10 o'clock this morning. So somewhere in the middle, if I pass out, John's going to do the rest of the podcast with you because I got wicked jet lag. But we're ready to start. Let's talk little Major League Baseball out of the gate.
You're like the postal service workers, sleet or snow or whatever it takes. All right, let's talk about the Padres. Who's left and what can be done?
Burning question. We have now kind of turned the corner into the second half of free agency because we're a month out before the opening of baseball spring training. And to me, the Padres have roster issues. As we have tracked and talked, discussed the rumors, discussed the potential trades, discussed transactions, we're sitting here with a roster that's still got a lot of holes to it. Ryan O'Hearn goes to Pittsburgh. I would have never seen that one coming. I would have never seen anybody giving Ryan O'Hearn 2 years, $29 million, but that's what he got to go be the first baseman of the Pittsburgh Pirates. I hope it works out for him. I think he's a steady Eddie guy. That's a loss for the Padres. And now I'm reaching back because I think about a week ago I made the comment, you traded 6 top prospects to get Laureano and O'Hearn, and now O'Hearn's gone. And Laureano's solid, but he's not an all-star. You traded 6 prospects and only got one guy left. So there is no O'Hearn. I'm not sure what I believe or don't believe with the OKAMOTO trade. He, of course, is the Japanese third baseman. He's the second Japanese slugger out there on this free agent market. Padres are supposedly meeting with him this week. He's got to decide very quickly, right after the first of the year, where he's going to sign. Why do you want him? You got Manny Machado. You just signed Song, the shortstop, third baseman, second baseman. He doesn't play first, but why do you need OKAMOTO? I don't understand that at all. So that's a question. Bench. Who? Will Wagner, Mason McCoy. That's your bench? You're not bringing Iglesias back? You already lost O'Hearn? I don't quite understand the methodology there. And, the burning question is, we are sitting here now that they obviously are keeping Pivetta and the fact that Michael King has re-signed and we hope he can be what he was before. So now we got 2 efficient starters. The question mark that is Joe Musgrove. What are we doing at 4, 5, 6, 7 insurance policies? And The free agents are off the board that this team could have signed. And are you going to trade somebody? Who are you going to trade? Cronenworth? Does that weaken your infield if you do that? So, I don't know. To me, it's the great question in the headline you built there, John. There's holes here in this roster right now, and we're past the halfway mark of free agency. I'm just throwing stuff out here. You tell me what you think. Am I pushing panic buttons? No. When opening day is not next week, but at the end of the day, so many players that come off the board. Your reaction to my stance on Padre baseball as of this hour?
I'm just throwing everything out there. I'm just asking questions. Yeah, well, he plugged the hole. The Kings signing was fantastic.
Yes.
All right, you got to give him props there. O'Hearn was interesting when they made the deal to get him. At the time, remember, we had no left fielder, and so Laureano was such a great fit for that. And then we got O'Hearn, and we weren't sure what to do with him because he was like a duplicate of Sheets.
Exactly.
So it's like this extra tool in the toolbox. So okay, maybe they let him go, but I just think AJ's got something cooking. Because if he signed the Okamoto guy and you get the Sun guy that just came over from Korea, and you got this like plethora of these infielders, so maybe Cronenworth's on the move. You still need. I mean, ideally, Sheets would be a DH, so you'd still need like a legit first baseman, so if you get like Sung and this Okamoto guy could probably play first or second, so you could see that something's cooking, and moving that Cronenworth contract off the books gives him more flexibility.
Okay, Padres, you're a Padre fan. Friar line is open for business. Fans forum, give us an opinion. Not just what's going on in San Diego. Let's talk about what's about to happen across the country in Major League Baseball. Notebook was filled with big names.
Yeah, big names, big decisions on the line.
Let's just talk about this waiting game that's coming. We got the New York Mets. Boy, they have strip mined that roster. In this no way, shape, or form can you say this is a pennant contender any longer. Mets traded Jeff McNeil to the Athletics for a teenage pitching prospect. McNeil's been really serviceable. A little bit of pop, can play second, can play center, can play left. He goes to the Sacramento A's. They have lost Alonso, Edwin Diaz, Nemo, and McNeil.
Wow.
That's a lot of productivity. That's a lot of chemistry that's off the books there with the New York Mets. Are they going to dive into free agency? That's the next question. Dodgers. Waiting to see what the Dodgers are going to do. Is it Bellinger? Is it Kyle Tucker? Or is it just bring up all these kids at AA, have all these accolades and these ribbons that they wear, and let them play? Dodger payroll in excess of $400 million now total. So it's going to be very interesting to see what is the next thing to do, because guys they can trade for still, obviously, marquee free agent if they want to push the budget and the luxury tax limit even higher. Third one is Toronto, which has been really active. Blue Jays, Bregman. Blue Jays talking again to Bellinger. Blue Jays, Bichette. They're in on a ton of people. And the latest, right before Christmas, Alex Bregman. So the Blue Jays, they may have another move coming. Yankees, I don't understand anything that Brian Cashman's doing. Haven't done anything. And guys are leaving. I was told from a baseball scout that they were really in on Bichette, and they need infield help. But Bichette's still unsigned. And the Yankee pitching staff it's still wafer thin. I mean, there's no Garrett Cole. There is no Carlos Rondon to start next season. I mean, granted, Fried is there, but beyond Fried, Luis Gil? I mean, I keep thinking there's got to be something significant coming, because the Yankees roster is not what the Yankee roster normally is. White Sox, with the signing of Muntaka Murakami. I guess let's mix reviews here. Does he hit home runs? Yeah, in Japan. Does he hit for average? Yeah, in Japan. Does he strike out? Yeah, kind of like Dave Kingman all the time. Wow. And they think, the White Sox think he's going to be a big difference maker. Now they got him at a cost-effective 2-year, $34 million deal. So that's interesting there. The last two names are the two last Japanese stars that are still out there. IMAI has not been signed. Has to sign by January 2nd. Is that Friday?
Yeah. Yeah.
OKAMOTO has to sign by January 4th. It has been total silence wrapped around IMAI. We're led to believe, I was told he had 7 offers. I was told he was making visits right before Christmas week. But there's been no leakage at all. Now, it's a Scott Boras MO. No leakage at all as the inside track. OKAMOTO is getting a lot of action. You know, we reported about the Padres, some form of either Zoom interview or face-to-face interview this week. I was told the Red Sox are back into it. The Cubs have interest again. Angels have interest again. A number of different people. But there's big mysteries about him, only just because he's got some flaws in his game. So it'll be interesting to see there. My gut feel is we are sitting here in a holding pattern. Well, that's a terrible thing to mention to somebody who spent 18 hours trying to fly home and cancel flights. But I get the sense we're in a holding pattern.
Yeah.
We're waiting for one of the marquee free agents to make his decision. Because maybe Bregman impacts Bellinger, or maybe Bellinger impacts Tucker. One domino falls, and I think there's going to be 2 or 3, 4 other guys are going to go after one big name falls in the marketplace. So that's where we are. It's going to be very interesting by the time we get to the end of the week to see what happens with IMAI and obviously with OKAMOTO. John, you want to comment on the Mets no longer ever being the Mets again?
Yeah, I mean, a couple of comments, but on the Mets, you had talked about, you know, Diaz and McNeil and who was the other guys in there on there that left the game. Nimmo was on that list.
The polar bear?
You know, lots of course, the polar bear. But again, you say they lost a lot of talent, but they lost a lot of culture. And when you said that, my brain goes ding, 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 because Juan Soto. I mean, are these the guys that didn't get along with Mr. Me, Myself, and I?
Could well be. And, you know, and the pitching staff is ragtag. Got all these young arms that aren't ready that they shoved in there at the end of the year when they failed to make the playoffs. A Juan Soto team failed to make the playoffs again.
Really?
So I wonder how he likes being a member of the New York Mets now. He looks at the roster and says, who the hell are these guys?
Well, how does Steve Cohen have such a massive payroll when there's really only 2 stars in that starting lineup?
Well, guys vacated because he didn't want to pay over the top to keep the polar bear.
Who's on their staff right now?
Hell if I know. I mean,
Sean Manaea?
Yeah, exactly. They've got so many injuries to their pitching staff.
Yeah.
Now, Josh Tung, or Jonah Tung, is really good. They got 3 or 4 young arms who roared through the farm system, pitched pretty well at every level, and they put them on the 25-man roster right at the end of this in September, as they were grasping for straws to try to stay in the wild card race. They didn't make it. So they've got a bunch of young pitchers, but the key word there is young, have not done it yet. So it's going to be really interesting. I can't believe the Mets think they're going to put this product on the field at Citi Field and compete.
Yeah, and you're even saying the Yankees too. You know, you think those guys are going to have an all-star lineup.
Yeah, what's Steinbrenner doing?
I don't understand these guys. I don't get them at all. But I want to bring up another comment. You said we could be waiting for the next domino to fall. Who's the next big contract? But I was wondering, with the collective bargaining agreement kind of looming out there, like it's in a year. But are these teams like strategically doing certain things today?
No,
because they know the CBA is going to change in a year.
The CBA may change, but it would impact everybody. Hopefully, whatever they come up with will be good for the overall picture of baseball, just not good for Dodger Stadium or Yankee Stadium or Citi Field and the Mets or Fenway Park in Boston. So, no, you got to put a good product on the field. You got to spend money anytime. So I don't think the CBA thing, I don't think there's any validity to that whatsoever. If that was the case, the A's and Miami and Pittsburgh wouldn't be doing this. Because those small market teams have spent more money in the last 4 weeks than they probably spent in the last 3 years.
Yeah, that Pittsburgh thing, signing O'Hearn, it was weird that they're paying that much money for O'Hearn to go there. Well, you said $29 million for 2 years.
Yeah.
You know, and then by the way, the Dodgers, they have so many options. Like you said, they could go get Tucker. They could, trade for some other talent. They got all these young kids coming up with, best in class in AA.
Yep.
So they've got options coming out the wazoo. I mean, I think the Dodgers, seriously, I don't think they need to make any trades. They could just take the assets they have in Chavez Ravine and supplement with their farm, and they're going to be just fine.
Who would you rather have if there's an outside acquisition coming to Dodger Stadium? You want Tucker, 273 career hitter, 25 home runs a year, solid. Bellinger, coming off a really good year in a big market, had a couple good years Dodger Stadium, some crappy years either side. Or do you just go get something different and use your currency in the farm system to go get Duran or Kwan? Who would you like? Because, I mean, they do have, I guess to a degree, a hole in left field. Which acquisition would you like? How would you do it?
Yeah, I mean, there's all good choices here, because
they're the Dodgers.
They're the Dodgers, I mean, they don't even need to trade anyone. But let's just assume they did. If you have my pick, I would take Tucker over Bellinger, because the Dodger fans have had a run-in with Bellinger.
I've seen that movie.
Yeah, and so I don't think they want a repeat of that. And Tucker is, I think, a more, like you say, is a more versatile player, and it solves the problem with because you could put Tucker in right and then move Hernandez to left. But if they've got young kids coming up, I think that's always been the Dodger DNA. They've always had a Steve Sachs or a Mike Piazza or Eric Karros is coming up in the system. I mean, so just what happened to the Dodger way?
Okay, here we go. Baseball fans, hot names here. We just gave you the laundry list of guys out there. I'm waiting for the first big domino to fall. And I don't know whether that's Tucker or Bellinger or Bregman, but I think when one signs, then you're going to see the others fall in place and move pretty quickly. Which one to you is the most marquee guy? Join us. Fans Forum chat box is open. We cover Major League Baseball because we're baseball centric. We go from that to all things National Football League. Wow, have we got a lot to cover.
We do. And we're going to kick it off here with the Chargers, and it's Justin Herbert versus the world.
That's about the way to put it. Chargers lost to Houston. Chargers got their brains beat out by Houston. Chargers tried to come back, could not beat Houston. I guess the thing that's really gruesome is the Chargers had put together this nice record, and here they are blowing the opportunity to have a home game. That's what this was. They lost at home to Houston. They win that game. Anybody might be hosting a couple wild card games at SoFi Stadium. Now dude's got to go on the road. Period, exclamation point. And that road trip could take him to Jacksonville as a wild card. Could take him to New England as a wild card. Hell, and we all know that somebody's got to go through Denver, especially if you're a wild card team. And of
Buffalo.
course, Buffalo too. So this will be interesting to see where this goes. Justin Herbert continues just to make big plays out of desperation, and everything around him breaks down. I mean, it was really pathetic, this game with Houston. C.J. Stroud, playing on the road in the noise factor, throws 43 and 75-yard touchdown passes in the first two possessions, and
Boom.
Houston is off to a 14-zip lead. Texans piled up 362 yards offense against Jesse Minter's defense, which had played well in weeks gone by. But boy, when you look between the numbers, behind the numbers, the defense, they had 9 sacks. 5 of them counted. 4 of them were voided by stupid-ass Houston penalties. They had 9 sacks of Justin Herbert.
Wow.
5 quarterback sacks that counted in the books. 8 tackles for losses, 8 hits on the quarterback, 23 pressures on Justin Herbert. He had people on his face before the ball got to him in the shotgun snap. I mean, it was really poor. And how good was Houston when they weren't going after the quarterback? Keenan Allen and Ladd McConkey had 1 catch each. And how good was Houston's defense? The Charger running backs had 15 carries for 30 yards. I mean, that was a lopsided game. So, and Dicker the kicker, where'd this come from? This guy's been Mr. Automatic, 3 years in a row? Misses a 32-yard field goal, then misses a point after? Wow, the Chargers are not the same team, and now, having lost at home to Houston, they're going on the road in the playoffs. And I'll tell you, playoffs is a whole different level. You're not playing some lame-ass team starting a week from now. You're playing real people, and look what has happened to them when they played real people. I think the way this thing's going to fall, in the wild card, 2 plays 7, 3 plays 6, 4 plays 5. So the Chargers are going to finish the bottom end there. So I would think they're either going to go to Jacksonville or they're going to go to New England.
Yeah.
How tough ass is that going to be for Justin Herbert? And they benched their starting left tackle and they benched their starting right guard in the middle of that fiasco against the Texans. They're just not a complete team. I can't blame anybody. It's just the injuries have just wrecked them. And it's not like finding shiny lights and Christmas bulbs on a Christmas tree. You can't go find a new left tackle, new left guard, right tackle. There's just no guys out there. And the guys that got out there were unemployed. And there's a reason they were unemployable for a bunch of time. So tough time. And now there's a sidebar question. All right, they're going to Denver, and here's the Broncos at 13-3. Denver's playing for everything because they could host every AFC playoff game there. So that, Bo Nix is going to play. Do you play Justin Herbert? You sit Justin Herbert, say, okay, give him another week to get healthy. We don't care if we lose this final game. We're going to be in the wild card mix. We'll just take our chances, but it's got to be a road game. So your reaction to what happened in Houston, your reaction to them screwing this thing up, as you would say, chargering.
Right.
And then do you put JH out a quarterback up in Denver, or do you sit him for a week?
Wow, a lot going on here. I mean, I just remember watching the game before it started. I was thinking, okay, the offense has got to have a good day because that Texans defense is so damn good. And I mean, I barely even blinked my eyes and the Chargers are down 14-0. Yep. And I was like, oh, this is not good. And I didn't see them ever getting over the hump, to feel that you were on the front end of this game. They were always kind of chasing from behind. Herbert sometimes would scramble, like you say, take hits or maneuver kind of like the video game Frogger when you're trying to cross the street. He was dodging and darting around these linemen that are rushing him, and still he's hitting his receivers and they're dropping balls. Yep. And you're like, this guy is Superman, but he doesn't have a full complement of talent around him. And so it just seemed it was doomed. And we said going in that this was a 5-week run the gauntlet, way to end the season. And if I recall, this is the 4th game of those final 5. And the Chargers won the last 3 weeks against tough teams. But then you face Houston, so a real defense can take them down.
What do you do with Justin Herbert in Denver on Sunday or Sunday?
Well, given that he's so darn injury prone, you think you'd want to protect him. But if they're going to be the 7th seed, I mean, what's the upside? Could they maybe be the 6 or the 5? Is that in the cards?
Well, they're 6 right now. They could be as high as 5. I don't think they're going to be the 7th seed.
Interesting. I don't know. Didn't when they lost in the playoffs a few years ago, wasn't that in Jacksonville?
Yes.
So that's a house of horrors. You don't want to go there.
And you think anybody wants to go to New England?
New England's going to be freezing cold unless you're Don Shula and you bring the snow machine, the snow plow to clear for Dicker the kicker.
Hell with the weather. New England's all about Vrabel and Drake May.
May just had a week.
Yes.
I mean, a weekend. He just lit it up. Yeah, the Chargers, you just feel like, they were sort of winning in spite of themselves through this season with all of those injuries, and yet they just kept finding ways to win. They better get back to that formula here to finish the season.
You're a Charger fan. Jump on board. You're in LA. You're in Orange County. You're a Charger fan left behind here in San Diego. Your reaction. That game. Now, I did not have access to see it. That game, though, a lot of people were in Charger colors. Was this really a Charger crowd, or were there a lot of Houston fans there? Because I get mixed reviews from people who followed it.
Well, I mean, it's just like any game at SoFi. Half the stadium is for the other team, sometimes more than half the stadium. So it was, it was interesting because, when they play at SoFi, there's still that shadow and the beam of light that comes in. Yeah. So the field looks a little funky. And I remember that in the, what's the name of the stadium where the Texans play? Energy Stadium, I think it is. Remember they had the hole in the roof. It was kind of the same sort of thing, And anyways, that's just a weird tangent. But the game it could have been so good for the Chargers. I mean, imagine if they had Alt and Slater. I mean, how different this year could be.
I agree. But There's nobody to blame. This is just a byproduct of so many injuries at the one critical situation. But being in the playoffs, one and done.
Playoffs?
Yeah, exactly.
You talking about playoffs?
All right, Charger fans, jump on board. Give us an opinion because we cover everything. That's why when we look at the scoreboard, I got things to say about the NFL scoreboard.
Yeah, here's the NFL scoreboard. And talking about the Broncos again.
Denver beats Kansas City. Broncos go to 13-3. Bo Nix goes for 182 and a touchdown and an interception. It's a low-scoring game. Andy Reid's offense with third-string quarterback, 66 yards passing. When did you ever think you'd see an Andy Reid team throw for 66 without Mahomes?
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's what happened. They're 6-10. Kansas City is 6-10.
Weird.
One more game to go. So Denver's the real deal. Somebody asked to explain to me this whole Jacksonville Jaguar story. The influence of Leon Cohen, that new coach, on that quarterback, Trevor Lawrence. He is having a mystical statistical season. We've never, ever seen him. I mean, he's doing things that he used to do at Clemson. I mean, he's had 3 games this year, I think, where he's thrown no touchdown passes, and yet they keep winning because he's running for scores. Jacksonville's 12-4 on the season. Lawrence threw for 263, no touchdowns again, but 2 touchdowns on the ground. It's really interesting. They beat up Indy. Phillip Rivers said after the game, I have no regrets. Rivers is 0-3. They brought him in to try to get Indy into the playoffs. It hasn't happened. They're eliminated. But Phillip said no regrets in the locker room after the loss to Indy. New England destroys the New York Jets, 42-10. Drake May, 5-touchdown day, 256 through the air. The Patriots are 13-3 on the season. Next one, Eagles. Eagles beat Buffalo. Had them, shut them out for 55 minutes. And Buffalo scores 2 touchdowns in the last 5 minutes and goes for a 2-point conversion in which the receiver was open and Josh Allen missed him. And Philadelphia winds up winning that game. Eagles defense, my God, they ratcheted that sucker up. They chased Josh Allen all over the parking lot. 5 sacks, fumble recovery, the stop on the 2-point conversions. God, they had so many plays because of penalties right down on the goal line at the end. I can't figure out Buffalo. They have these games where they're dominant. And then they have these games where, like, where's the offense gone? Philadelphia made all of Buffalo's wide receivers disappear, just by virtue of the pass rush and by virtue of the coverage. So Philadelphia's a real deal. Buffalo, boy, they're so erratic right now. San Francisco, Chicago.
Hey,
was that a damn classic?
That was awesome.
That was unbelievable. 42-38. What a phenomenal performance. I wasn't sure what was more exciting, to see the X's and O's that Kyle Shanahan and Ben Johnson were throwing at the line of scrimmage and executing, or to watch Caleb Williams and Brock Purdy actually pull the trigger and make these plays. Brock Purdy, 5 touchdowns in the game, 303 yards in passing. Caleb Williams threw for 320, couple of scores, and the thing ended with stops at the 5-yard line on defense at the end of the game. Boy, the coaches, those wheels were in motion. It was so much fun to watch, the play calling, the execution, the routes they were running, the matchups they were dictating to defenses. It was a hell of a game. Detroit, boy, it ended badly. They lose to Minnesota. Jared Goff, 5 turnover day. That's about the 3rd time this season he's played really, really poorly. You're kidding me. Pittsburgh lost to Cleveland. You are kidding me.
Yeah.
How is that possible? Shedeur Sanders throws for 186, a touchdown, 2 more picks. Goal line stand by the Browns at the 7-yard line right at the end. How does Pittsburgh lose to Cleveland? Amazing. Seattle, they're just rocking and rolling. They're 13-3. They beat Carolina. They run the ball. I'm a little concerned, though, because Sam Darnold is not having dominant statistics passing games over the second half of this football season. And you and I have talked forever I'll tell you what, pal, we get the first week of January, we start postseason football. That's a whole different world. So if Darnold isn't putting up mega numbers this back half of the schedule, what's going to happen when they start playing real people every Sunday going forward in the playoffs? That's kind of interesting. And then there's the Raider Nation. They got worked by who? The Giants. The bleeping Giants buried the Raiders 34-10. Raiders are 2-14 on the season. Raider fan, A, he's drunk, B, he's pissed off. Raider fans cheered Geno Smith when he threw his first interception. That's pretty tacky. So much for the home field advantage. Geno, touchdown, 2 more picks, 3 quarterback sacks, and then he got hurt. Only saving grace, Raiders now pretty much locked in, number 1 pick in the NFL draft. Huge, huge disappointment. So, John, interesting weekend of games, but I heard you yelling. I was sitting on a freaking tarmac for 18 hours on a plane. I heard you screaming all the way back to the Twin Cities in Minnesota and Michigan about all things 49ers Bears. That was classic.
Yeah, it was a great game. I mean, it was really entertaining. And, you know, right now it's the du jour thing for everyone to be gushing over Brock Purdy. You know, what a great quarterback he is. And I was watching one of the interviews with him, and he was saying, you know, when you're back there in the pocket, you know, 40 to 60% of your field of vision, you can't see. I mean, there's big guys that are like 6'7" with their arms up, and other guys are in the way of other. And so when he's throwing to a spot at a specific time.
That's right.
You know, so it's like boom, boom, boom. You know, so it's like he has to have trust that his receivers are going to be there, because sometimes when he throws it there, they ain't anywhere near there.
They haven't come out of their break yet, or they haven't been bodied or interfered with yet.
Exactly. So it's just, I mean, he's a remarkable talent, and the whole Mr. Irrelevant thing just makes this a fun story. Yeah. So that was an incredible game, but where the hell was the defense? I mean, the 49er defense was just like shocking.
How mystical are those two coaches, those madmen, Shanahan and Johnson. Holy cow.
Yeah. I mean, well, we all know about Shanahan, but Johnson, that dude is another level too. He's like another savant. So yeah, that was classic. And props to Caleb Williams. I mean, he's grown. Yeah, he really is a lot better than he was last year. And I like to see the Bears successful. Go back to the Jags and Liam Combs. Walk me back, refresh my memory. What's his background? Where did he coach? Is he an offensive guy or a defensive guy?
No, he's an offensive guru and finally got his first head coaching job. And he walked into a strange situation where Trevor Lawrence was a really high pick, had success early in his career, and then just kind of regressed, and everything around him fell apart. And geez, Liam Combs, and they run the football, and Trevor Lawrence makes a lot of passes. I mean, they are a really dangerous team, and lost in all the conversation, they do punch you in the mouth defensively, and they power the football on running. So, I mean, that's kind of a scary team. Are they upper echelon in the AFC? Hell no. I don't know anybody that's using Jacksonville in the same sentence with New England or Buffalo. But look where they are. They're 12-4. Just amazing. Now, granted, they do play in the AFC South, that's pretty weak.
It's a weak division. I agree. But, you know, Jacksonville has always been sort of like this stepchild of a team in the NFL.
They're out there.
Yeah. And so it's interesting to see them have some success. That Eagles-Bills game was really entertaining too. The defense for the Eagles was just crazy. But at the very end of the game, I'm like, why in the hell are they going for 2? I mean, you know, they were getting shut down time and time again, you know, throughout the game by that Eagles defense. Why would you take a risk for the 2-point conversion to win it? And meanwhile, you know, Josh Allen choked on that throw. He threw that inaccurately. His receiver was open in the end zone.
Yeah, Shedeur was open. The problem was that he had a defender in his face, or a hand in his face, as he was trying to lead the receiver, and just oomphed it a little too far. I guess the only thing I could say is that Philadelphia choked him for 55 minutes. And so we kick the point after and tie it. We're going to go to overtime. Do you realistically think we have much of a chance to move the ball against Philadelphia? We haven't moved it all day, hardly.
Well, yeah, again, no guarantee they're going to make the point after, you know, because that one got blocked. And, you know, and then, by the way, I just want to give props to Terrell Shavers from the Aztecs. He had some big catches in that game for the Bills. And, he was sort of like a number 2 or number 3 wide receiver for the Aztecs, but he made the Bills, and he's a big part of their offense. I think that's great.
He spent a whole bunch of time on the developmental squad, and then they had injuries, and he's got the chance to play. But Philadelphia's defense made all those Buffalo receivers just disappear. I mean, they really did a good job.
Yeah, I agree
on them. Okay, you want to talk about the other games in the NFL? Who's hot, who's not? Feel free. Join us. Statement games. We're going to the final weekend of the NFL season. Briefly, one other topic before we get to halftime. Fans Forum chat box is open for NFL fans. Let's talk about names in the news and coaches.
Yeah, we got the Raiders to kick it off.
Burning question. You're wearing black.
Yeah.
You're wearing Raider black. I'll ask you because I don't know if Raider fan is conscious, drunk, stoned, whatever. Was hiring Pete Carroll a mistake? Because Pete Carroll yesterday, after they went to 2-14, says, I intend to come back here and return. I intend to rebuild this. And of course, they've got the number 1 draft pick, but they got so many critical needs. And I don't know that there's any guarantee. The sexy thing is to say Fernando Mendoza, Indiana. But do we know that he's going to be a star in the NFL to be the number 1 pick? And they could get themselves some hellacious pass rushers or offensive linemen with their 2 number 1 picks. So you tell me, was Pete Carroll a mistake? So that's question 1. Second one. This thing has really bottomed out. They are 6-10. Andy Reid wants to come back, has indicated we will come back, but they're going to play their final weekend with no Mahomes, no Rashee Rice, no Tyquan Thornton, no Trent McDuffie. And of course, the aura of it's just the final game that Travis Kelce is going to play. They're not the same team. And the last storyline is Cleveland. Nobody's talking to Kevin Stefanski about his future. Everybody's saying this is a freaking disaster. Even though Shedeur Sanders has made them competitive to a degree, although he's thrown way too many interceptions, but that's freelance football. I don't know what's going to happen. If Stefanski gets booted out, he might wind up with another coaching job in the NFL lickety-split, because a lot of people still have the opinion he's a real smart dude in terms of running offenses. He just doesn't have much of an offense to run right now with the uncertainty at quarterback and a mess of injuries in the offensive line. Okay, smart guy wearing those colors. Hiring Pete Carroll, mistake. Your reaction to all things Kansas City. Era is obviously over. Now, what do you do about Cleveland?
I mean, it's hard for the Raiders to make Pete Carroll was the kind of guy you need. I mean, granted, is he like a guru? Is the game passed him by? Is he getting old? You can make those criticisms, but he is a culture changer. He is a guy that has vision, has energy, so that's what the Raiders need, in my opinion. I mean, that roster is crap. I mean, it was crap before he got there. And so, by the way, they're going to have the number 1 overall pick. Fernando Mendoza, he's a talented kid, but I don't see him as like someone you build a franchise around.
Yeah.
What the Raiders really need to do is probably deal down, and pick up some extra picks, because they need offensive linemen. Do they need a star quarterback? Sure. But I mean, they have needs everywhere, so you're not going to build it all in 1 year. So maybe they need to focus there just on those defensive and offensive lines.
Yeah, I mean, this has turned out to be a disaster. But again, when Pete Carroll got hired, we were all amped.
Yeah, we were praising the hire.
But then free agency started, and all these guys left. They lost so many people on the back 7 defensively. Their defense is deplorable. And then offensive line, they lost their left tackle, they lost their center. The other young guys haven't really grown in the offensive front. They just, to me, they're just so deficient in the player personnel end.
Yeah. They need to reload the cabinet, and they got it's dusty in there.
Okay. The guy with the opinions from left field wearing Raider colors is of the opinion the silver and bleak should trade at a number 1.
Yeah.
Stockpile multiple number 1s, number 2s, and fix this thing once and for all. Okay. You got an opinion? NFL line is open. Fans Forum chat box is there for you.
By the way, Shedeur Sanders, I'm still thrilled for him. And, granted, you say he's thrown some interceptions, but he has made Browns football exciting. There's a different vibe around the team. That's a team that has a lot of deficiencies, a lot of problems. But, he's a guy you build on. And if the Browns were to eject Stefanski, he's not the problem either. I mean, it was the whole draft approach and all the extra quarterbacks and all the attention and Deshaun Watson. And there's a whole lot of
check marks.
Yeah, a lot of baggage with that team. So I kind of like the idea they should keep Stefanski and build with Shedeur or Dylan Gabriel, either one of those guys, But I think that's what's going to lead them to a better future.
We are at halftime. This podcast brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers. Lots of locations serving San Diego for more than 100 years. And the most unique thing about DIXIELINE is what they offer to you. In terms of guidance and renovation of your home, whether doing something in the kitchen, the bathroom, etc., or whether it's doors and windows, or whether it's just DIXIELINE and their tool shop for the do-it-yourselfer at home. John, these people, their reputation's just impeccable.
Unbelievable. I mean, here is some video of some custom homes that are being built, and DIXIELINE provides all the building materials here. So the contractors, the framers that build these houses have a great relationship with DIXIELINE because they can get the highest quality lumber products, at DIXIELINE. DIXIELINE will deliver to the job site. You can set up an account with the company, qualify for special discounts as a contractor. So if you're in the business of home building, home contracting, home remodeling, DIXIELINE is hands down your best partner in San Diego County.
And if you're a do-it-yourselfer, guys, go to DIXIELINE. Go to DIXIELINE.com and just look at the tool section in each of the stores. DIXIELINE Lumber. We are at halftime. Just a reminder, when we're done, because we put topics on the table and express opinions, we do sports talk the way it should be done. When we are done, you take over this podcast. John, let's call Fans Forum. How do people jump on board, get active?
Look at all these people already in here. Arnie and Flegel and who is that? Derdenjo and Revolution and John and HB949 and Flash and Callan and Casey. Thanks for being part of this. So we'll get you all involved, but there's still an open shot for everyone else to get involved too. You have a question for Hacksaw on anything in the world of sports, drop your take in the live chat on YouTube, X, or Facebook.
And if you got a comment about him violating the dress code wearing silver and black, feel free. Jump on board, pile in there. Hey, just a couple of other notes. We do sports talk the way it should be done here. I have the sports website. I write on it every day of the week. Want you to follow it. Want you to read it. Just go to leehacksawhamilton.com. It's there first thing every morning. You can subscribe. Get on my email list. You'll get Hacksaw's newsletter. We send out 2 newsletters a day. We work really hard there. We want you to share. Tell everybody what we do Mondays and Thursdays at 1:30. Want you to subscribe. When you subscribe on the YouTube channel, you will get the alerts every time we put additional videos up. And now that we're back from the holiday break, we'll be doing a lot more of that. Also, you can help us grow. Give us a thumbs up right there on YouTube and all the other platforms. Hit the follow button and give us a 5-star rating because that helps us grow this thing a great deal. Okay, John, let's move to the second half because we enjoyed NFL football this weekend. We're about to enjoy the second round of college football playoffs. Yay.
Yeah, here we go. Beyond the controversy of all the James Madisons.
Okay, let's talk about the college football playoffs. It starts on New Year's Eve, and then the rest of the games are on January 1st. We'll go with the Cotton Bowl. That is Ohio State. That is Miami. Carson Beck had a nice career at Georgia. He's not been able to duplicate the same thing statistically and explosive-wise with the Hurricanes. And Ohio State's got athletes everywhere. And this is going to be a phenomenal show. The Hurricanes have played better defense than most people thought. They're going to have to play better defense to be in this one because the Buckeyes with Julian Sayin and Jeremiah Smith, they got guys who can just hit you from anywhere on the field. I bet this turns out to be a Buckeye blowout win in the Cotton Bowl. I'm intrigued to see the Orange Bowl game in the college football playoffs. That's Oregon versus Texas Tech. You know, the Ducks have won some nice road games this season. But I tell you what, they don't play with the verve, the explosiveness on the road that they do at Autzen Stadium, Dante Moore is still a great quarterback. Texas Tech is really good. Quarterback, running backs, wide receivers. Red Raiders, that's a pretty good football team that money bought for them. I think Texas Tech gives Oregon a real run for the money because this sucker is not being played up at Autzen Stadium in Eugene. It's going to be played in the Orange Bowl. And I think it's going to be a heavy Texas Tech turnout of fans there. Rose Bowl. Boy, you talk about collision of the Goliaths. You talk about boom, boom, boom. Indiana, Alabama. Now that's big boy football. Hoosiers, though, they haven't played in, 3 weeks? Haven't played since the Big Ten championship game. So do they lose a little of their momentum? Nah, I don't think so. Signetti would not let that happen. Indiana's really good defensively. I mean, granted, a lot of Indiana has revolved around the success of Mendoza, the quarterback, but Indiana is rock'em sock'em rugged football. And if you don't believe me, just ask the people that they kick the crap out of in the Big Ten championship game. I think Alabama's going to have a tough time moving the football on IU, and I think Indiana is going to win that Rose Bowl game. Sugar Bowl. I never really liked Kirby Smart at Georgia, but I think I'd like Kirby Smart if they kick the crap out of Ole Miss. I'm so offended at Lane Kiffin and everything that happened at the end. But this is going to be a hell of a game because the Ole Miss quarterback, that running back, those are dynamic dudes, and Georgia has built its team around rock solid defense. I bet that turns out to be a much lower scoring game, but I think Georgia's going to win. I think there's a lot of people in the SEC hope they win in the aftermath of Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss. So what do you think? We go to the second round. Now, this big boy football.
Yeah, it's big boy. We're not talking about the G5 guys and all the drama around all of that. Indiana has just been so impressive all season long. And Signetti, I mean, the more you learn about that guy, he was on 60 Minutes a few weeks ago. This guy is a special leader of men, which I love to see that in the game. And it's just so fun to have Indiana relevant on the national stage here. So, but you talk about Texas Tech, and man, isn't it interesting how, they're way out the hell out there in Lubbock, Texas. Okay. And you never really used to hear about Texas Tech until maybe, 15, 20 years ago. And then suddenly there is a lot of NIL money flowing through Texas Tech.
A lot of those oil makers are Texas Tech alums.
Yeah, exactly. So it's interesting how, some of these teams can get a ton of money and suddenly they're relevant, but Texas Tech looked really good, So this is going to be a fun weekend. So we're going to have, there's 4 games, and how many of them are on New Year's Day?
3 of them. We have the New Year's Eve game is the first one. That's Ohio State, Miami. And then we go to January 1st. We got the Orange Bowl with Oregon. You got Indiana in the Rose Bowl, and you got Georgia, Ole Miss, Sugar.
So we're talking Wednesday night. This starts.
Yes.
And then 3 games on Thursday.
That's right.
Oh, hell yeah. This is good. This is the expanded playoff format is a great thing for the sport. Whoever wins this tournament is going to be legit national champion.
Agree with you. Okay, we'll go from that quickly. Michigan. I guess I should have saw this coming. I was surprised that Kyle Whittingham retired from Utah. Should have connected the dots. Whittingham signs a 5-year contract to go to the University of Michigan. And he says, the end result, I want to win a championship trophy for the final chapter of my career. Hired a guy that was 177 and 81 at Utah. That was a Utah in the Mountain West. That was a Utah in the Pac-12. That was a Utah in the Big 12. This guy's a hell of a coach. They hired a man of credibility as compared to what's been there in recent years in Ann Arbor. I think this is a really good hire. Interesting story just broke today out of South Bend. Notre Dame evidently was not really interested in allowing Marcus Freeman to interview for NFL jobs. And reports were the Giants and Tennessee, once their season ended, we're going to sit down and try to bring him in. And the Giants are really interested in him. He's staying in South Bend. I don't know if it was pressure from alums. I don't think it was a money deal because he's not a money guy. But he was 43-12 with the Irish, and he wants to stay the course. I was told, though, that Notre Dame did not want to let him interview other places, and that might have become a friction point, but he elected to stay. So that's a big surprise because he was a hot name going from college to the NFL. So he's staying put. Ohio University has hired John Hauser, the defensive coordinator, elevated him to head coach. This came weeks after the firing of Brian Smith for off-the-field insinuations and allegations about personal relationships. It's the third time in a row that the Bobcats have hired from within. They don't do stuff from the outside, and every guy they've had, starting with the hiring of Frank Solich, has been really successful at Ohio. So the players met with the athletic director before the bowl game and said, we really want this guy to be our head coach. And then they go out and they beat the hell out of a team in a bowl game in the Frisco Bowl, and they wound up going 9-4. Aztecs, with apologies in advance, I don't want to hear anything about moral victories. When they got torched by North Texas, I could not believe how bad it was early. Did they come back? Sure, they came back late, and that was after North Texas pulled starters out, and the defense was made of backups, and the Aztecs kind of climbed back into a game that turned out to be 49-47, but no moral victories. They trailed by 15 points 3 times, 22 points another. The defense caved. I could not believe that North Texas had 618 yards in offense, and North Texas ran for 386. And Drew Mestecker, the quarterback, threw for 250 in his final game before he enters the transfer portal. Felt really bad for Bert Manuel. He had the big 75-yard touchdown run, had 177 yards rushing, got injured his shoulder, had to come out, but he couldn't throw the football. He can't. He's never thrown the football at all. I mean, you're in a shootout. You need quarterbacks who can throw the football. Did not happen there. He got hurt, and they've been dinged by defections. They had 2 defensive linemen who opted out and they're going to the transfer portal, so they're not playing in a bowl game. And then they've just lost Owen Chambliss, the great linebacker who really worked hard to become a really fine football player. He's gone to the transfer portal. I hear he's going to Nebraska with the defensive coordinator, Rob Orrick. And Trey White's going to make his decision this week, and I think he's going to probably file to go to the NFL draft. And of course, they didn't have Chris Johnson, their All-American cornerback, either in the bowl game. So it's kind of a crummy ending to a kind of a unique season. But now Sean Lewis is in real scramble mode. But he's got to stop the bleeding. He can't lose all these guys because he's facing some rebuilding the offensive front, and all of a sudden now there's holes across the defense. So you know what they ought to do at San Diego State, because he's always talked openly about, if I were king, this is what I want. You want my NIL money?
Mm-hmm.
You sign a contract, you're going to play the entire season, including a bowl game. I'm not going to let you opt out. You owe me the whole schedule, which includes a bowl game or the Mountain West Championship game.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Impose that. I don't know if anybody else in the country would do it that way, but I was kind of surprised how many players opted out this time, because he has sales pitched family and sales pitched how good this program is and loyalty, et cetera, and all of a sudden, all these kids are disappearing on him. So that's a tough call. SC, Alamo Bowl game tomorrow. SC, Texas Christian. We're going to see Jaden Mayava. He's coming back next year to quarterback, but same set of circumstances. Mikel Lemon, Jacoby Lane. That's over 100 receptions between them. Not going to play. NFL draft, both of them.
Wow.
UCLA, Bob Chesney. That was an impressive conversation. Nico Imalieva, quarterback, has decided to stay. He's not going to transfer, and he's not going to go to the NFL. Nico is coming back, so there's a cornerstone that Chesney will build around at UCLA.
I am a Leva.
Yeah, jet lag. Shut up. So here, it's going to be really interesting to see how many James Madison kids, January 2nd, go into the portal, turn left at the stop sign, and come to the West Coast to play for Chesney at UCLA. So anyhow, that's what's gone on. College Notebook. We talked about the bowl games. Go ahead and you start with Michigan Man, Notre Dame, and go from there.
there's a lot going on here. So just quickly about Michigan and Whittingham is I read this story online, and it was a guy that played for the Utah Utes in 2004. And he was talking about how that team was just really talented. And, Alex Smith was the quarterback, and their scrimmages, against themselves were just heated. I mean, there was so much talent and so much energy and focus on winning. And I guess in one of the dry runs or scrimmages, the defensive lineman kind of gave Alex Smith, like, hit him too hard or something. He's wearing the red jersey. And so the quarterback coach came out onto the field and was just really angry and yelling at the defensive lineman and just kicked the football out of sheer, anger. And it hit Kyle Whittingham in the back of the head, on the other side of the field. And everybody just went, whoa. That's not the guy you want to do that to. So that story alone tells me the kind of intensity and command that he's going to have. And that's going to be what Michigan needs, to really build the big house with some integrity, so I think it's a great hire. But didn't he just so-called retire unexpectedly?
Yeah, he walked away from a bunch of years or still left on the Utah contract, but he's always marched to the beat of a different drum. Dude's going to be cruising around Ann Arbor on a big Harley.
Yeah.
He's a motorcycle guy.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, the Notre Dame storyline, it's just funny. Some people are saying online, Marcus Freeman turned the job down with the Giants because he wanted to ensure that the Giants always had an invitation for the NFL playoffs every year. So, and by the way, for you as an Ohio alum, are you comfortable with the coaching decision there?
I was very uncomfortable with the way the Brian Smith era ended because of this relationship with a staffer. Very uncomfortable with the whole thing, but good program. They've done very well. However, short window. They won with transfer quarterback, running backs. Those guys are graduating now. So there'll be a bit of a rebuild mode at Ohio U, but they've done a really good job.
Yeah, I mean, just the way the wild, wild west of the transfer portal is, all of these kind of G5 teams have to essentially reload the holster, every year. And that is exhausting. That is challenging.
And that's expensive to those of us who are alums who support our alma mater's football program too. Yes, it is.
Yeah. And so, but you know what? The Aztecs, they had a hell of a year. They really did. And, Bert Emanuel, he had some moments. You're thinking, man, if you made Bert Emanuel like a tailback, I mean, that guy is so fast, and his long strides and just explosive. So who knows what they're going to do? Kyle Crum was kind of a fun story there at the end. And, the game was closer at the end than I ever expected it to be. But, in the end, good on you, Sean Lewis. Good season. Just keep building the house.
You're big on moral victories, huh? I expected more. I was disappointed when I found out while I was gone, JP Mialova, the quarterback they recruited last year, is going to the portal too, jumping ship.
Yeah. I mean, that's just the nature of the beast right now.
Okay, that's all things college football. You get an opinion, feel free. Tell us what you think. We're going to try to move through this last segment real quick here so we can get to fans forum because the chat box is starting to fill up. Let's talk NBA.
Yeah, the Lakers and the Clippers. Hey, what's missing? Is it team chemistry?
Yeah, that's a good question. Boy, this Laker team, I'm not running around the hallways here saying, oh, the Lakers are back. They beat Sacramento. Who's Sacramento? Sacramento's awful. But I tell you, JJ Redick's not happy at all. He's really down. And his quote this past week, right around the Christmas holiday, quote, these guys don't care enough to be professional about playing defense. Boy, that's a really terrible, harsh thing to say about your guys. And then they had a team meeting and, oh, everything's fine. Well, you beat the crap out of a bad Sacramento team. Not everything is not fine. But these statistics, the Lakers have had, get this, Lakers have had 10 losses, 15, 17, 21, 23, and 24-point losses in this last group of losses in the last month. 6 times they've allowed between 120 and 135 points in losses in games. I mean, that's no commitment. There's no work ethic. Please tell me, outside of LeBron's offense and Luka's offense, and now Austin Reeves is hurt, who else on the roster can you trust? I'm really disappointed in Ayton. DeAndre Ayton is playing like a big stiff. So They're just not the same team. So you have to answer the question for me in a second. I'll ask you in a minute. They're just not the same team. And there's nothing they can do about the roster. They can't make trades, really, to speak of. And now Austin Reeves gone down with a second calf injury, and this one's longer. He's going to be out longer. So, boy, they got problems. The Clippers, where'd this come from? See, Kawhi scored 55.
I did
last night.
That's amazing.
And the night before, the game before, he scored 41. And he's throwing caution to the wind in terms of health, load management. Not right now.
Mm-hmm.
He's playing 40 minutes a game, which I would have never expected that. But Kawhi's playing hard. Brook Lopez had 31 last night. Harden is still out there. So I just don't think it's going to be a good season, even though they've won a couple of games. So spin back to my question. What is missing in Laker basketball land?
It's just LeBron is like it's hard to find a way to make the whole thing work with LeBron. So, we knew DeAndre Ayton or whatever the heck his last name is. He had a big rebound night. He had 11 rebounds, in the game against the Kings. But
that's Sacramento.
But it was Sacramento. It's just like an enigma wrapped in a mystery, in a riddle, or however that old saying goes. Did you notice, by the way, that LeBron shaved his head?
Yep.
Yeah. And for the longest time, he was like the representative of the Bosley Hair Club for men. And he was always like moving like sections of the hair in the back towards the front. And he finally just shaved it all. That's my son and I were watching the game. That was the first thing we commented on.
Yeah. I just don't know where the commitment is to be a professional. A professional means not just getting paid on the 1st and 15th of every month. Professional means playing at both ends of the court.
Yeah, yeah.
We see a team with that payroll and that many named players getting blown out of by so many games.
Well, but it's a thing in the NBA where it's like defense. They don't really play defense in the regular season.
Defense optional.
Yeah. So, good on REDICK for trying to lay down the hammer, but he's surrounded by all these highly paid guys. He's only going to have so much juice.
Does he deserve to be criticized? Or
no.
Maybe he just can't impose his will because these guys run the league.
Yeah. I think that's the deal.
Okay, that's all things basketball.
Well, one more thing about basketball, I think it was great, is in the game that Kawhi scored 55, do you see the uniforms they were wearing?
Yeah.
They were orange.
Yeah.
So it was like going back to the San Diego Clippers days in the light blue and the orange. I'm thinking of like Bill Walton, back in the late 70s. And it took me a moment to when I saw orange on the Clippers, I was like, what the heck's going on? And I remembered oh yeah, this is a shout out to San Diego.
Yeah, well, I remember the San Diego Clippers because I thought they really had cool colors. It was like a powder blue.
Yes.
And they had the nautical flags down the side of the jersey and the pants. That sort of really stood out. It was the only thing that stood out about San Diego
yeah, pretty much.
Clipper basketball. You're a basketball fan. Any commitment to play defense, lack of professionalism? REDICK got the right to rip the hell out of these guys, or is this just the lost cause because NBA players run the entire NBA league? Basketball hotline is open for business. Feel free to join us in the Fans Forum chat box. We go from that. Let's talk puck.
Talk puck. Skid City on the ice.
Can you score goals? Holy cow. The Kings have lost 6 of their last 8. Wow. The Ducks, who used to be in first place, they've lost 6 of their last 8. Nobody is scoring in LA. And the Ducks have cooled down, and the Ducks goaltending, which had been hurt, has really struggled. They've had so many bad first periods in the last 3 weeks between the pipes. Even though they got Lucas Dostal back, he's just not quite on the edge the way he played before he went down. So kind of strange, because I'd say a week and a half ago, we did a podcast, and I said, there's nothing wrong with your eyesight.
Yeah, right.
We looked at the standings, and the Ducks were in first place and the Kings were in second, and then they both promptly went 2-6, 2-6. So, okay, we got that. Names in the news. Last segment, hot headlines. Here we go.
Brooks Koepka on the list.
He has asked for and been given his release from LIV.
Wow.
Brooks Koepka. He's got a problem, though. They've released him. He's given up what was left on his contract. He has no place to play. He cannot come back to the PGA Tour. The tour guide book says if you violate your tour card, you are suspended for 1 full calendar year at least from the last date of the tournament you played with the LIV. So he's got nowhere to play in 2026. And it's kind of stunning. I'm told by some guys who cover the PGA Tour and obviously have insight into the LIV that there's some concern from the guys on the LIV that we've disappeared off the face of the earth. We're playing these tournaments, making all this money. There's no buzz and nobody's following us.
Yeah, that's true.
It's true. Can't find them on the TV channel hardly at all. Nobody in the States is watching them. So, I mean, I guess you're big in Ecuador, Saudi Arabia, South Korea.
Yeah.
Now, how about this? Here's a follow-up story that broke this morning. Bryson DeChambeau says he has to consider what his future will be. So Koepka bailed. DeChambeau, who's had more success, is he going to ask for his release? But he's got the same set of problems. PGA does not want these guys back without some sort of sanction and penalty. So the PGA LIV situation, it is still there. Soccer, how about Christian Pulisic? He has arrived as a stud. I think the coolest thing covering pro soccer, and I pay a lot of attention to the English Premier League, and I write about it on my website. I don't know if any soccer fans enjoy what I do in terms of the coverage of the EPL, which is the top league in the globe. Christian Pulisic, one of the cool things, just see him grow up from an 18-year-old to a 25-year-old, become a star. He said AC Milan, he scored 10 goals in his last 12 games.
Hell yeah.
He is just on a real tremendous roll. Los Angeles Times, your newspaper now is not what your newspaper used to be. LA Times just lost two of their veteran guys. Columnist Dylan Hernandez is left, and Dodger beat writer Jack Harris, who I think has done a really nice job, he's left. I don't know if you're aware of this. The New York Post, tabloid newspaper, is starting a West Coast operation called the California Post.
Interesting.
And they've hired Dylan Hernandez and Jack Harris as two of their key guys.
Okay.
I wonder if they're going to steal anybody who covers San Diego Padre baseball to go work for the California Post, or whether it will be just an LA, San Francisco driven newspaper. But I think it's going to be a tabloid in size, not the typical LA Times, San Diego Union Tribune. That's too bad because those guys are really hardworking guys. I enjoy them, and I enjoy a lot of the Union Tribune guys too. So keep an eye on that. We'll see if somebody else defects along the way. And one other note, the story just broke this morning. We talked about him last week. Anthony Joshua.
Oh, yeah.
Escaped death in an auto accident. He was in a car in Nigeria over this Christmas holiday. It was high speed, suffered a blowout. The car was totally destroyed. He was in the back seat. His two friends in the front, we don't know whether they were boxing people, Americans or Nigerians, were killed instantly. He is in stable condition with a bunch of internal injuries, but this guy just beat Jake Paul in that match, fraud, whatever you want to call that. But he almost died this week in Christmas holiday in Nigeria. He's in stable condition in the hospital. So there you are. You want to talk about the PGA LIV, Pulisic, or your daily newspaper?
I'm just thinking about, Anthony Joshua. It's like maybe he got hit by Trump's Tomahawk missile that just went to Nigeria. I mean, it's kind of grim to say that, but at any rate, the Koepka thing, do you think this is like the dam is starting to crack? You get enough of these guys that bail on Live Golf, they come back to America, they're going to be enough of them where they can make a case to the PGA and force the issue, on a negotiated, mea culpa, pay a fine, get back into it. And then if we've got, Koepka, and then who was the other one you were saying? DeChambeau. I mean, what if more guys defected? Because this is blood money. I mean, this is a moral issue here. And golf was just so much better when everyone was like, in the PGA.
Well, the LIV just announced about a month ago they're changing their format. I mean, they're not going to play 54 holes. They're going to play 72 holes like the PGA does.
They got to change their name then, because that LIV stands for 54.
That is true. And again, there's been no movement at all in the merger talks because they're stalled about what type of golf should it be. I mean, for some reason, the Saudis are of the opinion team golf is where it's at. I don't know anybody that thinks that team golf is where it's at, that follows the PGA Tour, the Masters, the British Open, etc.
You know, where it's at. I think of those guys that were the Padres cheerleaders on KUSI. Remember those dudes? Yeah. I think that was the name of their song. Anyways, yeah, I'm open to the idea of team golf. I mean, I've seen some of those live golf hats. You know, they've got like skull and crossbones, but with a couple of golf tees in there. I mean, I like that. I'm open to it, but it's like the NFL and the AFL, you know, it's like this separate but equal. I mean, just bring everybody together and just I want to see the best players in the world play each other. And if it's on teams, that's fine, you know, and certain tournaments can be team oriented. That's all good. So, you know, just come together here and build a real league.
I think they're farther apart now than they've ever been. And they've had 3 years of conversation. And I mean, Tiger Woods entered the conversation about 6 months ago as a consultant. No progress.
Amazing.
And they're hemorrhaging money. I mean, the Saudis are not getting the return on the investment. I'll guarantee you that.
Well, it's just, I mean, if you think about how much Saudi money is in sports right now,
yep.
I mean, even watching the Laker game, you saw the Air Emirates logo was on the floor of crypto.com. You know, and then you see a lot of Saudi money is involved in EPL. So but you know, it's not unlimited. So they can only go so long with that. So yeah, but if I'm one of those players, I mean, yeah, you can be cleaning up, you can be making money, but is that fulfilling your life goal? You know, if you want to be the greatest golfer in the world, do you want to do it, you know, in a closet where no one sees you, or do you want to do it on the biggest stage?
Yeah, when these guys are playing abroad, I mean, Mickelson's all about money in Mickelson's pocket. Dustin Johnson has totally disappeared off the radar, and all these other guys that have gone away. And they're not playing on the stage. They're not, you know, with rare exception, do they play a Grand Slam event? Because they're not getting global points to participate in all these other mega events. And you want to be in the mega events with the great guys who are still playing, representing the PGA Tour. Okay, Fans Forum chat box is open. You got an opinion on any and all, it's your turn to take over this podcast. Podcast brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers. Lots of locations to serve you in San Diego. You got projects, they've got materials, and go to DIXIELINE.com. Check out the tool centers at each of the DIXIELINE stores. When we're done with our opinions, you take over this podcast. It's called Fans Forum. John, take it away.
Kick it away. And we'll start with music to my ears. Thanks for the donation. And by the way, you make a donation with YouTube Super Chat, you move to the front of the line. He says, Team USA has lots of MLB players, but other countries like the Dominican Republic, Venezuela, Puerto Rico, etc., not much representation. Will Smith and Cal Raleigh playing for USA. Who would you start?
Good question. I mean, you're going to play them both, and there will be a DH, so maybe one of them Cal Raleigh becomes a designated hitter. This thing, I think, has really grown, but not all the countries are very competitive. I'm sorry. Team Italy, I'm not sure they should be in this thing. But, you know, in terms of the Latin American companies, this is huge. And obviously what Japan, Korea bring, this is really huge. So it's found a place in terms of being a special event, has not found the right place on the baseball calendar. And this continues to be a debate. Like, you know, they're going to chop up spring training. They are taking players out, including Padres players. In March, the Dodgers are having conversations about whether Ohtani should be allowed to pitch. Sasaki, what's his role going to be? So, but WBC games are going to go on for 10, 12 days in March, which obviously interrupts the flow of spring training. And there's been a lot of dialogue. Maybe we should play the thing and wrap it around the All-Star game, etc. So the idea was really brilliant. The execution has been kind of choppy.
Yeah, I agree. And I think doing it in March is wrong. I mean, it really should be mid-season. You know, maybe that All-Star break needs to be a 3-week break, you know, give guys time to heal, and you do this tournament in the middle. You know, and these guys will be paid for their time, and, you know, a lot of it's national pride. I saw Mason Miller's on the team.
Right.
It still bugs me, by the way, that Manny Machado's on the Dominican Republic team because he was born in America. He's an American citizen.
Miami guy.
Yeah, but I think it was like a kind of a
family
a
thing.
family connection, like his grandparent thing. And okay, I understand it, but I went to the 2017 semifinal, Dominican Republic, United States at Petco.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. I mean, that was like an all-star game. You know, I mean, the Dominican, I mean, maybe this year they're not going to be 1 through 9 with major league stars, but that year they did. I mean, Big Papi was playing,
Yep.
Giancarlo Stanton was there. I mean, that was a hell of a game. And that was the one where, what's his name? Adam played for the Orioles. He was center fielder for
Adam Jones.
Adam Jones. Yeah, local San Diego guy. He robbed Machado's home run there and out in right center at Petco. That was a hell of a time. So this tournament is going to be fun. It was fun last time, and I like the way these other nations get involved. So bring it on. Even bring on Italy. You know, they had Mike Piazza on the Italy team back in the day.
The coolest thing was the last WBC 9th inning final game. That is Ohtani. That is Mike Trout.
Oh, yeah.
How Hollywood was that?
It was pretty nice. And you know what? Ohtani is the best player in the world.
So this will be, it'll be interesting to see how good it is. I think it's pretty good right now. The concept is excellent, but just the execution and the calendar issue is just a real big issue there. Okay, thanks for joining us. Move on.
Okay, we'll move on. We'll go to Casey. Hey, good afternoon, guys, and hope you both had a great Christmas holiday. Hacksaw, now that my Rams won or win the NFC West, how do you think they'll do in the postseason?
Well, the problem is, look at where they are. You know, as we sit here and had lunch today, Chargers are 6th seed in the AFC. The Rams are 6th seed in the NFC playoffs.
They were just in the number 1 slot a few weeks ago.
Yeah, and then they lost that crushing heartbreaker game up in Seattle, and they don't win the division. So now they're a wild card team, and what does that mean? They play
on the road
in the winter.
Oh yeah, Chicago.
yeah,
Philadelphia.
Yeah. Or obviously San Francisco.
Yeah, exactly. So it's interesting though, where we've seen those kind of cases where teams can slip out of a very high ranking to near the bottom, like in an instant.
Yeah.
You know, because the way everything is so tightly packed. But you got to believe that the Rams are still
they're
like
studs.
They're if you're a gambling guy in Vegas, I bet you the odds for the Rams to be the NFC representative have got to be the best. You know, they're the heavy favorite.
The NFC teams are really good. That's heavy duty football. I mean, we've got some really good AFC teams, but I don't see that the New Englands and the Denvers of the world match up to everything that the NFC throws at you.
Well, for the longest time, it was the AFC that really had the uber talent, but the Niners, the Rams, the Seahawks, the
Chicago.
Bears, you know, you got Philly and, whoever wins the South, you know, which, by the way, good on the Panthers for having a good year here. But yeah, that's going to be the playoffs are just going to be fantastic. And this beautiful thing is we're going to go from the college playoffs to the NFL playoffs.
Just like that.
Just like that. It's going to be good.
Okay. Thanks for being with us, Case.
Okay. We'll go here to Callan. Hey, afternoon, gents. Hey, does NASCAR have any intention of truly coming back to SoCal due to the fact that the Auto Club Speedway is gone? I know they got a race here coming up, but what do you think?
Well, at this point, this whole thing at Fontana has stalled. There was a downsizing of the speedway and make it a much shorter track, but they stopped the construction project. So I think economics have probably got something to do with that. But NASCAR, Coronado Island, it's going to be fun. I mean, I don't know how many people are going to be able to actually attend it because I think the capacity on that base is going to be very limited, but it'll be fun to watch it on TV. But there's no place to race. There's no tracks in Southern California now, which is kind of stunning considering that there's been such a long heritage of auto racing, whether it was dirt or whether it was Irwindale or what was it, Old El Cajon Speedway. We don't have any facilities here, which is kind of a shocker.
Yeah, the El Cajon one they had an oval there, but I think there's something on the Barona Casino reservation up there.
Yeah, that's midgets or what do you call it? Dirt cars.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and I think there might even be a drag strip out that way. Yeah. There used to be a drag strip in Carlsbad, but that's all been filled in with new housing and business development.
It's odd you mentioned it because I was flying home on this 18-hour trip to try to get here to do this podcast. I watched the F1 movie again with Brad Pitt, and then it dawned on me: races, tracks in Southern California, and we don't really have anything here any longer. Fontana Speedway was supposed to be the mega place on the West Coast, and it flashed for about a 5 to 7 year span where they drew really well, but the track was so big, the racing was not competitive. It's not Darlington, good old boys swapping paint and crashing each other. It just kind of lost its luster along the way. And what we do have, obviously, we still have the Long Beach Grand Prix and IndyCar racing, which is a 50-year-old event here. But I don't know whatever is going to become of that on that Kaiser plant ground up in Fontana, whether they're actually going to finish this project done or not.
Interesting. Yeah, I went to the Long Beach Grand Prix about 5 years ago.
Yeah,
and that was really fun. But that was like Corvettes against BMWs. It was very interesting. But it was like an F1 style track for these kinds of cars,
street course.
But do you anticipate a day when maybe NASCAR gets relegated back to the Southeast and the F1 becomes the dominant auto racing in North America?
Yeah. F1 is so high priced. It's a selective audience, although I think we're all attached to the personalities and the storylines in Formula One. But no, NASCAR's big business. NASCAR's on all these super speedways now, and NASCAR is no longer good old boy network racing. It's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
Okay,
let's go here to Phenom. And he goes, hey, guys, curious your thoughts on Broncos and Chiefs. Is Denver legit Super Bowl contender? And is this the start of the end of the Kansas City, or will they be back?
Kansas City has always done a great job in terms of player personnel acquisition. I got to believe Brett Veach and Andy Reid will retool that roster. There's still a lot of talent there. They just got to keep them healthy, got to fix the offensive line, have to change the running back group. That's where I think you'll see some additions there. They got to get more physical, and they got to be able to pound the ball, which makes Mahomes an even more dangerous guy. Denver's really good, but I don't know that Denver's the real deal yet. They got to prove to me they can actually do this in postseason, because Bo Nix and these guys have never been in postseason. But collectively, boy, if they put a nice defense together and Bo Nix finds a way to get them touchdowns and get them and move the ball. But yeah, New England's here. Denver's right there with them. But neither one of them's got any playoff expertise at all. And the minute you go to postseason play, I mean, it is such a different world. So they're going to have to experience, as I say, walk down this hallway one time to get that experience in their brain.
I think Denver has a real chance to be the AFC representative in the Super Bowl, because Bo Nix is just like, he's like the perfect fit for Sean Payton, and there's been, we're talking about comparisons of Bo Nix with Drew Brees and how they're similar, and it kind of brings you back to the Sean Payton with the Saints, but which, by the way, they're now comparing Drew Brees with Brock Purdy as well. You're getting those comparisons. But I mean, Denver has the ability to go all the way. That defense is ferocious, but it is weird without the Chiefs. I mean, how old is Andy Reid? I mean, how many more years do you think he's going to coach?
Well, he's been there. I think he just finished his 13th year. So he said today, I expect to be back. I'm not burned out. We're just going to retool this. And I think that they still got an awful lot of good players. The acquisition of all that young skill guys, all that speed, it's still there. And they keep bringing new guys in every year. So they just need to make some adjustments, fix the running game, and make the right acquisitions in the offensive line. That even though they drafted Josh Simmons and they spent a lot of money to get more out of the 49ers, it's still, the offensive line was a real negative in terms of protection to Patrick Mahomes. So,
will Mahomes be back to start the season?
They believe so. Yes.
Okay. All right. Then there's a saving grace, but I think Kelsey's going to hang it up, right?
I don't know. Let's say convincing them, let's bring it back. This was a 1-year aberration, and let's give it one more go around. He's not an old dog. He's not 37 years old and done. I think he can still play. He led him in receiving.
Yeah, he's still great.
Yep. Okay,
let's go here to HB949 Jeff. Hey, rooting for Tampa Bay to defeat Carolina Saturday and storm into the playoffs with an 8-9 record. Your reaction, Lee and John?
My gut feel is Baker Mayfield took him as far as he could humanly take them, and now it's kind of caved in. The defense has really played poorly. Is there going to be a coaching change? Just kind of some rumblings that maybe they hit the eject button there. Baker's a hell of a player, but they lost so many people. I mean, all the running game and the wide receivers are all hurt. Tight ends were hurt, and Baker, as we got about 2/3 into the season, and he was really dominant throwing the football, all of a sudden they started to turn it over. He started to take a lot of sacks, and his numbers have really tailed down. So, Tampa does not get this job done, and they're going to have to figure out what they're going to do in terms of the roster. Injuries have been one thing. There's age. Mike Evans might retire. Godwin has just been constantly had injury problems about 2-3 years running. And Baker, I mean, he is such a fierce competitor, but he's such a small guy, and he just takes so many hits. And if you go back, if you go back and track his individual statistics in the last 6 weeks, they're terrible. Terrible in terms of touchdown, interception, sack numbers. It's all lopsided. And the first 2/3 of the season, guy had a quarterback rating, I think, of 110. And was averaging, their offense was really cooking. They're averaging in the mid 300 yards per game. It's just not that way now.
The NFC South is like a group of 5 conference. So I think they shouldn't be allowed in the playoffs. We should just not let the NFC South have a representative because they just don't play the same level of football in the NFC South.
Well, they were early till Daniel Jones got hurt, and then the injuries kind of ravaged Indianapolis. They were 8-2.
Well, that was the AFC South.
Oh, AFC. Okay.
Yeah. But the NFC, we always have this situation from that division.
Well, I'll tell you how bad it was. Now, he referenced Carolina.
Yeah.
Your starting quarterback in Carolina, Bryce Young, threw for 49 yards on Sunday. That's
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like a group of 5, man.
And Tyler Shuck from New Orleans. Now, they've got a little mini winning streak, but there's nothing sexy about the Saints roster. And, it's just the NFC South it's really –
but it is weird how sometimes a team will get in the playoffs, being a 500 team or maybe even a game below. Oh. And you're like, oh, this is kind of weird,
Carolina playoffs, one and done. Maybe Carolina could just play the Steelers.
But the Carolina didn't they have like a 1 or a 2-win season like a year or two ago?
Yeah. No, Dave Canales has done a good job, but yet we have these Sundays where you look at, I follow the numbers. I think at Bryce Young, and one Sunday he throws for 69 yards. This past weekend, I think he threw for 47. How can you have an NFL quarterback throw for 47 yards? Kind of like New York Jet quarterback numbers this year.
Yeah, they're probably really
bad.
They're regretting that. I mean, didn't they trade up to get him too, didn't they?
Oh, yeah.
So he just, every time I see Bryce Young, he just looks so slight. He
undersized.
He's very undersized. It's just very, like almost like a fragile doll. Like if you hit him hard, he's going to crack.
So that's where we are. It's been a nice run for Baker. They're going to need to get some player help for him, though.
Okay, let's go here to our friend John. Hey, the only question about the former football team is whether they're going to at least win a playoff game or go one and done, which is their habit. The only way the Chargers get a Super Bowl ring is with their new team. Just ask Drew Brees, Rodney Harrison, Lance Allworth, or Eric Weddle.
Chargering, that's his term. I mean, it was right there in front of them, and they had this nice spurt, but obviously injuries have just destroyed the team. Justin Herbert cannot do this by himself, and though he is doing it by himself, you're going on the road. Do you think this team, the way it's constructed, could beat the Patriots in Foxborough? You think this team, the way it's built, could win a shootout with Josh Allen if they wound up playing him in Buffalo? Do you think this team, which has already gotten punched in the mouth by Jacksonville early this season, could go back to Jacksonville and win a postseason game, what they didn't win last time? I don't know. If they were totally healthy and the roster was the roster we thought they would have when training camp opened, hell yes, really dangerous. But that roster's not the same now.
I mean, Justin Herbert is like Atlas holding up the world.
Superman.
I mean, it's just amazing to watch him play. And with the whole world dissolving around him, he still is able to, move around in that pocket and really, get some really nice passes off. I mean,
the stuff that he executes, you call him Houdini once upon a time.
Yeah.
How did he make that play? How did he get the ball out of there? How could he be accurate throwing at the angles? There's a little bit of Patrick Mahomes in his delivery.
Oh, yeah. And there's even, like it was in the game against the Texans, there's like defensive ends have got their arms around his torso, and he's still able to throw the ball. And you're like, who can do that? I mean, that's like huge superhuman strength.
Well, like the headline that you wrote in our comment segment, Justin Herbert versus the world.
The world, yeah.
It's too bad. And I don't have much confidence they can do anything in the playoffs, because this offensive line is now really wretched. I mean, they've had 24 different offensive line combinations have had to play this year because they got so many injuries. And they're benching the guys that are backups that they had to start. They've benched those guys this past weekend against Houston.
I mean, literally just drag a guy out of an Amazon warehouse and see if he can be a right tackle.
Yeah, Bobby Hart didn't play for 2 years in the league, and now you're asking him to be your right tackle, and now you move him to left tackle, and he played so bad they pulled him in the second quarter. And Becton's not been what they expected from Becton, and they pulled him in the third quarter.
Yeah, I mean, you got to block someone. I mean, some of these defensive linemen are, going up against Myles Garrett or something. I mean, granted, they won't see him in the playoffs, but, these guys that we have on the Chargers, they have a chance against these big defensive line guys.
Yeah. Those pass rushers were in Justin Herbert's face so quick off the snap of the ball.
Crazy.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, John.
Okay, let's go here to Arnie. And he goes, hey, Phillip Rivers is a class act. He did his job to help the Colts. Hit the reset button for the Hall of Fame. He will get in.
Well, he's, obviously there's a lot of quality quarterbacks that are on that Hall of Fame ballot. Now, he comes off the ballot for 5 years because he played. So he won't be eligible again till 2030 or 2031. And there's so many great quarterbacks. Even on the listing this year, when his name appeared for the first time, he wasn't going to be a first-time ballot guy because Manning is there and Breeze is there, and these other guys are probably going to get in because they went to the Super Bowl and he never got there.
Yeah, but it's just fun watching him.
Oh, he's so cool.
Yeah, and granted, every game they lost, but a lot of times their defense just kind of blew the game. Now, granted, he doesn't have the most beautiful looking pass. A lot of times it's like a wobble and duck up there.
Yeah, he doesn't have any firepower now.
But it's just cool how he can, gets to the line and he's still, shouting out, audibles at the line, and he still gets it. I mean, I just keep thinking of the kids that are on the team that he coaches in high school. They must be so thrilled to see their coach just walk on a team in the NBA and actually make it happen
and compete. But he's not throwing for 284 like he did at the height of his Charger career.
Well, yeah, I mean, but what do you expect, So it's just been a fun story, and I just getting a lot of Phillip Rivers love, around the NFL. Everyone appreciates him. Even if he didn't win, it was just a really fun story. Is he done? Is he not going to play anymore now that they've been eliminated?
Yeah. There's questions whether he was going to start the final game. Maybe they won't start him. But he said, on Sunday, he said, I have no regrets. He said, I gave this everything I could. They were 0-3 since they put him in the starting lineup. But he's limited as to how far he can get it down the field, which limits the scope of what they're doing offensively.
The Colts fans got to be bumming, man. And they were like really at the top of the list there for a while.
They really were.
And then Daniel Jones turned into Daniel Jones.
Well, ruptured Achilles, just a fluke play. He didn't get hit. He planted a throw. The pocket was secure. It's planted and boom. Just terrible.
Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
Now they're talking about Mac Jones maybe going to the Colts.
Mac Jones, he's got a year to go on his contract. Frisco's going to probably trade him and get some asset, but he's played pretty well. Now, he's played pretty well for Shanahan. Prior to that, he did not play well. Not in Tampa, not in New England. So it'd be interesting to see. Shanahan, I thought, had a tremendous impact on Mac Jones. Now, if Jones changes teams, is he be able to duplicate this in Cleveland or somewhere else? Some of these other ragtag places, I don't know.
Interesting.
All right, thank you.
Okay, let's go here to, who is this? Dergenjo. Hey, will you guys consider a meet and greet with us fans?
How could we do that? John and I knocked our heads together trying to figure out how could we have a get together with our fans at a restaurant. Would they let us on the patio? And
they definitely would.
We'd have to figure, and John's a rich man. John lives in a castle. But when I brought up the topic, John should buy shots of Jack Daniels for every one of our group that comes to this. Well, he didn't know if that was a good idea or not, but
no, see, the beauty of it is when we started the Hacksaw Insiders group, right now we're emailing your best 15 and your one man's opinion.
Newsletters, yeah.
But we, the vision is that we would have a whole bunch of special things for the special people that follow Hacksaw. And one of them, I think a meet and greet would be great. I mean, we can just roll into, you know, sports bar someplace, or, you know, I mean, we have to get kind of an RSVP count so we kind of have an idea.
Yeah.
You know, but that'd be fun to do. I mean, I just know for me, I was a big listener of your program in the 90s and in the 2000s. And when I got a chance to meet you, that was fun. I mean, just like, hey, Hacksaw, it was great. So I imagine a lot of the people would like the opportunity.
Well, we'll put our thinking caps on. We'll just see what we can create for 2026. Hey, let's just do a sidebar here for just a second, because during the Christmas holiday, we needed a break, and we came up with the idea, let's do the Hacksaw History podcast, which was the first one that John and I ever did. And John said, we got phenomenal response from people who didn't know certain things about why I am the way I am and who I am and where I came from and why I did this, and et cetera, et cetera. So I'll just let you take it and go, because you're the one that got all the input from people.
Well, this is fun because when we met in July of 2022, and then that's when we did the first episode. Well, actually, it was it was July of 2022. You were a guest on my podcast. And that's where we met.
It was an experiment.
And as an experiment, and went really well. But, you know, we had that still in the can, right? You know, that interview. And so we ran it once before, but we just reran it again on Christmas Day. And then we ran the excerpts on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And the response has been really cool. And there's been a lot of like Hacksaw love. You know, I mean, seriously. I mean, here, let's post a few of them here. And this was from Rome Loves Dan. He goes, remembering discovering Hacksaw up in the suburbs of L.A. a little before the time of the Pete Rose betting scandal in the late 80s. Extra 690, what a signal. I liked his opinionated style and the high-speed sports wire. Absolute respect for him for being a pioneer of sports talk broadcasting.
Well, thank you. We were the first one through the wall. Nobody had ever done it the way we did it. Nobody's ever followed it up to be able to do it the way we did it. And hey, we were learning as we went and did it, and we built a really great radio station. I think the thing that makes my heart ache, we had something unbelievable at Extra Sports 690. The radio station was billing $11 million a year, and corporate radio came in, swooped in, and bought up 690 from the ownership and bought all these other stations, etc., and just started to chip away. And all of a sudden, the format wasn't the format that we had. And all of a sudden, guys started to leave. And all of a sudden, they started letting people go when their contracts were expired. And corporate radio, I mean, Clear Channel and iHeart, to this day, wrecked sports talk radio in San Diego. I firmly believe that. And it's not that I got let go, but everybody got let go. Eventually, we all got taken out. I got treated well. When they said your contract is up and we're going to make a change, I got treated well. I was never bitter. I was disappointed. Couldn't believe that they were taking it off there. And then the station went away. And that's all on iHeart. And that's on what Clear Channel became. So it was, to this day, I just shake my head and said, you had something that was that great on a Mexican signal with a heritage, and you blew it up to replace it by this crap that's on the air now? You're kidding me. Whatever.
Well, you know, there's a lot of factors involved. I mean, I know Clear Channel has sort of a cutthroat reputation, you know, as far as, you know, making cuts in the media, because a lot of people have been roadkill from the Clear Channel situation. But the whole radio industry is so different today than it was in the 90s. And now we're doing podcasts. I mean, the whole format
landscape's changed.
It's changed. So I think that's another big factor in this. But you're right. It was a great thing in the 90s. And I just remember, I just knew the lineup, you know, and, you know, we had, was Scott and BR, were they doing the mornings then?
Yep.
Okay. And
eventually they wound up being they'd gone through a lot of different morning concoctions. They wound up there, and then they too got exited like we all did. And they wound up going across the street when the owner, John Lynch, started the mighty 1090, and Scott and BR did a really good job for a whole chunk of years there. And then I eventually wound up going there. And then, of course, the coach, John Quintero, was there, and other people came in and out, but it never had the impact that 690 had.
I mean, it was incredible. I mean, it was Steve Mason, I think, was another morning guy.
Mason Ireland for a short time.
Yeah, Mason and Ireland, John Ireland. And then, you know, when Rome, I love Jim Rome. I mean, I think he was just so awesome, you know, and his show was great for very different reasons that your show was great. And, all the gloss and, he was definitely a lot more of a punk back then in the 90s than he is as an adult today on ESPN2 or whatever he's broadcasting. But those were the glory days. And it was like, I lived my life according to the Extra Sports 690. And then you top it off with the Charger broadcasts on the weekends. I mean, those were good days.
The coolest thing was our day parts were so radically different. They all came at the content from a different angle. Mm-hmm. I mean, and, I've told the story, go back on the YouTube channel and find the history of Hacksaw that John just posted on Christmas Day. It's there. It's a long, drawn-out interview, but each of our day parts came at it from such a different angle. You never knew what to expect from one day part to the next in their opinions. Where talk radio today is, same old topics, very limited content, same old stuff. Ours was so radically different, and the personalities were just through the roof. I mean, you think about the Loose Cannons and the Steve Hartman and Chet Forty, and then Steve Hartman and Philly Billy Warrendale, and you think about Romy, and you think about the coach John Quintera, and you think about the entourage of morning show hosts they had because they never quite figured out.
Well, they even had you on the morning for a while, didn't they?
At the tail end at the mighty 1090. Yeah.
Oh, 1090.
Yeah. So it was a great run. It's too bad it corporate wrecked it for everybody, because we had to my day, I'll go to my grave, I'll never understand why Clear Channel would take an $11 million radio station and destroy it. It just made no sense at all. Wanted to get out of Mexican radio, maybe that had something to do with it, but why would you do that to something that successful that was so pioneer? Now things change. I mean, WFAN in New York is no longer what WFAN was with Mike and the Mad Dog. Those guys are all scattered to the wind, and IP in Philadelphia and EEI in Boston and KNBR in San Francisco have all made radical changes. So LA Sports Talk Radio is kind of a mishmash. It's kind of different, but hey, we're proud. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Let's move on, because there's a lot of more people who have got some opinions.
Okay. You want to go back to the chat?
Do what you want.
Oh, do what I want. Okay. Let's go here to Johnny. He goes, Seattle and the Niners play for the #1 seed on Sunday.
Well, short weeks at the end of the season probably have Kyle Shanahan going crazy. But Seattle is just really playing tremendous football. Seattle's defense is better than anybody ever thought. And I will say this, the back end of the schedule, Darnold is not putting up dominant statistics like he did early in the season. And we get to postseason. I mean, you're playing really good people every Sunday in the postseason. I wonder if Darnold's going to regress. Because he's throwing for 140 yards a game. And that's not what Sam Darnold did early in the year, not what he did in Minnesota.
That's got to be lingering in the back of his mind, don't you think?
Lingering in the back of the mind, a lot of us.
Yeah, I hope it's not a repeat performance of this, but Seattle deserves success, okay? And it's been a fun story for Sam Darnold to reinvent his career, the success in Minnesota, and he's proved it again in Seattle. Mm-hmm. But that game, I mean, I saw there was some controversy if it was going to be the featured Sunday night game. Is it?
Yeah. No.
They're not making it. You think it would be a perfect fit?
Pittsburgh-Baltimore is a Sunday night game.
Yeah.
But of course, that's her first place in the AFC North, and Baltimore's gotten himself up off the deck, climbed out of the gutter, and they're 500 and trying to take first place.
East Coast bias. That's what it is. Okay, let's go here to Michael. And he goes, the Lakers play no defense, but will be a top 4 team in the West at the end of the year.
But then what happens when we get the postseason? You don't play defense and you don't win. They're going to go home again, and Laker fans say, oh, well, we had a good season. We got to the playoffs. No, it's about a ring. And they're just not working very hard defensively. And they got nagging injuries. I mean, LeBron's had 2 different injuries. Now Austin Reeves has re-injured the calf a second time. I just don't think it's a complete basketball team.
Yeah, I really wanted DeAndre Ayton to be a great player in the NBA because I was so impressed with him at Arizona. And he's just been such a disappointment. Everyone seems to trade for him because of the potential. And it's just...
Phoenix got rid of him. Portland got rid of him. And you look at what he's being paid to play for the Lakers, and he's not a difference maker.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't get what Michael's saying here. I mean, how do you think they're going to fix this magically in the middle of the year? I mean, unless you think, that the Rob Lowe general manager of the Lakers is going to go out and trade for some different pieces, but then
They tried that multiple times, hasn't worked.
well, it worked that 1 year that he had a great trade deadline and the team improved. But the NBA, especially the NBA before New Year's, is just sort of
Got to play the games.
yeah, it's sort of there on the back burner, at least for me as a sports fan.
You're a Laker fan? Please tell me. You're not sales pitching us the idea the Lakers are in the same sentence as Oklahoma City or San Antonio, are you?
Oh, not at all.
Okay.
I heard people saying that San Antonio OKC could be set up for like a decade-long rivalry. I think that's really true.
Well, injuries change your roster a great deal, but Lakers are not what the Lakers used to be, and I don't know how they're ever going to get back to being that way again. LeBron's final year of his contract. Reeves is a walk free agent at the end of the season. Obviously Luka's got his mega contract and he's a great player, but they just need more help, more players. They need more consistency and more intensity defensively.
Okay, let's keep on moving. There was a really good comment here from Flegel that I wanted to go to. Oh, yeah, here it is. Hey, give me a break, Hacksaw. The New York Post was founded by Alexander Hamilton in the early 19th century. You attached the label tabloid in order to delegitimize it, but you are doing it so illegitimately.
No, I am not. They are tabloid, but that's okay. People on subways like to read tabloid papers. But it's coming out here. I'll be fascinated to see this. They had announced, I want to say about 6 months ago, the New York Post announced there was going to be a West Coast edition called the California Post. Now, I don't know if that's going to be just a tabloid layout format just for the LA market, or whether it's going to be the whole state of California. And does that mean they're going to hire giant beat writers and 49er beat writers and Padre beat writers to work for the California Post? I bring it up because the LA Times lost 2 of their veteran guys. This is their final week in the LA Times, and they're going to the California Post, which launches in 2026. So I'll have to do some more digging, find out a little bit more about it.
I just don't know, just in general, if print media, if I'm like the New York Post, I don't know if I'm making an investment in Southern California to build a California Post. I mean, it's not, to your point, people read them in subways. Well, not anymore. I mean, they read them on their phones. And by the way, there's very little subway in LA. Yeah. I honestly think that's going to be set up to doom. It's going to be set up for failure unless they're approaching it that they're going to be an online presence, a multimedia thing, maybe have a little bit of TV time as well. And then, oh, by the way, we have a print edition too.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't know what the concept is going to be. I do agree with you that everybody is doing this now. I subscribe to the New York Times and the Washington Post digital because I like the depth of reporting from a news standpoint, and the Athletic. But I don't know what the comparison number is for the LA Times print edition versus LA Times digital. I don't know what the San Diego UT, I know the numbers are down, what their print number subscription. I mean, I get the UT delivered at home in my driveway every morning.
That's getting expensive now, though, isn't it?
Sure.
Because they print so much less. They're losing their economies of scale.
Yes.
So I just print media, man, that's like breaking out like the papyrus, that the Egyptians use. It's really ancient. So I don't know. But I do like the idea of tabloid style journalism, especially, with Hollywood and TMZ and sports TMZ. I mean, you could probably make a way to make that content work. The question is on what form of media would it be?
Yeah, it's such history. I mean, at one point there was the New York Post. And this is when I was growing up on the island. New York Post, New York Mirror, New York Daily News. They were all tabloids. Then Newsday came in that format, though Newsday was more legitimate paper than just tabloid yellow journalism, etc. So, and it's got its place. People like it. I have no problem with that. So I'll be intrigued to see what the California Post looks like, and also what its reach it's going to be and how many more people it's going to take.
Yeah. I mean, it's a big question mark.
Okay.
Let's go here to Greg Burt. He goes, hey, Lee and John, who do you start to win a Charger game in their prime? Stan Humphries or Phillip Rivers?
Oh, my goodness. Well, Humphries only did it for a short period of time. Rivers has done it with Hall of Fame statistics. So I would tend to say probably Phillip, but Stan had a couple of really good years with the Chargers before he suffered the season and career-ending concussion and walked away from the game. But tell you what, I like Justin Herbert. I'm a huge Justin Herbert fan. And the saddest part about what we're experiencing with Charger football right now is Justin Herbert's having to do a lot of this by himself. And I mean, he's Superman. What his abilities to execute in the face of pass rush and make plays and take the hits, just unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, if he survives this offensive line and his career's, 4 or 5 years longer, he'll be the best quarterback in Charger history.
Yeah.
Herbert will be. And to answer Greg Burt's question, I agree with you. Definitely Rivers, but I loved Humphreys. I mean, Humphreys was a gamer, and he's kind of a stocky guy,
Mad bomber.
But he was a savior for San Diego back then. I remember didn't they get off to an 0-4 start that year, and then Beathard traded for him from the Redskins?
They were 0-4 to begin Bobby Ross's first year, and they wound up making the playoffs.
Yeah.
And then obviously they grew in, and Humphreys had the Super Bowl season. He was just a mad bomber and had real guts to hang in there and take hits. But like anything else in the NFL, you are one play away from the end of the season.
Yeah.
And that happened.
Yeah, he was special for San Diego sports history. All right, let's go back to some of our social media comments. And here's a comment about the Padres. This is from Gabriel. Hey, don't hold your breath on IMAI as a Padre fans. I remember when you all were talking about being in the mix for Ohtani. IMAI doesn't want to come to this train wreck. I say he's going to Seattle.
Seattle's name has not been mentioned, and Seattle's got pitchers stacked top to bottom. Seattle has no need for starting pitching, so I don't see that. We had heard San Francisco, but I don't know if something's changed there where they kind of put a lid on Buster Posey in terms of extensions and contract signing bonuses. IMAI to San Francisco would make a hell of a lot of sense from a cultural standpoint. I mean, a phenomenal number of Asian Americans, the Pacific Rim, who live in the Bay Area. Wow, would he be a focal point? But that thing's kind of gone away. I don't see him fitting the Dodgers right now. Angels would make a world of sense, but that's that owner. And is that owner going to pay that kind of Scott Boras money to get IMAI? So I would have thought he would have been a West Coast guy, because I think you can sell the climate of this baseball, sell the heritage of Pacific Rim players here, and sell the ability to execute endorsements if you're playing on the West Coast a lot better than if you're playing on the East Coast.
Well, it seems like Preller is sort of in on a number of Japanese players, because is he in on this OKAMOTO thing? So it wouldn't surprise me for Preller to pull one of these out, because there aren't a lot of, I guess, free agent signings that are all that sexy anymore.
Well, most of the marquee guys,
except maybe Bregman or Bellinger or,
the pitchers are off the board.
Yeah.
And that's what he needs as a pitcher.
So he's going to have to do something different.
But nowhere in the vocabulary of Scott Boras' San Diego discount verbiage anywhere.
No, he'll get, he wants top dollar. I don't know how much flexibility he has. Maybe that's why the rumors about Cronenworth being traded, it wouldn't surprise me to be blown away by something wild from AJ Preller.
Time's ticking away here, though, because a lot of the names are off the board.
Okay.
But again, they have to make a decision. Somebody has to make a decision on IMAI by the 2nd, and OKAMOTO, his window closes on January 4th.
So that's Friday and Monday.
Exactly.
For those of us that get confused on the calendar.
So there will be signings with those guys.
Okay. Let's go here to Pete, Dodger fan here. He goes, I'll never apologize. For what? They stole our 2017 and MLB didn't do anything. 2020 called it a Mickey Mouse World Series. Now they're ruining baseball? Dodgers ruining baseball and win 100 more.
Now, is that pro Dodgers or anti Dodgers?
He's pro Dodgers, but he doesn't like it when they think that the Dodgers need to apologize.
Well, that came out of Andrew Friedman's mouth. He kind of triggered that whole controversy. He said at the general managers meetings, we don't have to apologize for who we are and what we're doing business wise, and he was also the one that made the crack, was kind of looking down the 405 towards San Diego when he said, we don't worry about winning the trade deadline. We win in October.
That was a burn right there, man. If you're a Dodger fan, you don't need to apologize. I mean, that's what everyone wants. everyone wants to tear down the top dog, right? Everyone wants to make the top dog bend a knee to someone else.
Wouldn't it be something, though, if the Dodgers' success via spending spree changed the whole concept of Major League Baseball's economics?
Well, I suspect in the CBA, something's got to give.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whether it's a floor or a salary cap or something. I think that you're going to see ownership push back, and we'll see what happens. Hopefully, they don't kill the golden goose.
No, I don't want to hear about a work stoppage.
No.
Everybody's making money. Revenue streams are at an all-time high, attendance at an all-time high, TV ratings at all-time high, and what's going on in Japan, marketing baseball has never, ever been seen before. Why would you stop that? So there's some saber rattling going on. Common sense, sit at the table and find a formula that works for everybody, because everybody's making money now. And all you need to do is look on the other street corner to see the NFL, the NBA, and the NHL all have it. They have a hard cap and they have a floor to spending, and they're at all-time highs too in terms of gross revenue, ratings, etc. So don't stop baseball. Find a way to make this work.
All right.
Okay. Hey, listen, we're going to wrap this up. Want to thank everybody for the kind comments you made. The Hacksaw history video is still on the podcast on the YouTube channel. Go watch that if you have some downtime. You really get a kick out of who we are, what we did, why we became what we became. And our thanks to John, because he's the one that kind of created the whole first podcast. It was an experiment, and it's really taken off. I want you to tell your friends, share with everybody that we're on Mondays and Thursdays at 1:30. Want you to subscribe, give us a thumbs up, give us a 5-star rating, hit the follow button. You can't believe how much that helps us grow this podcast as we march towards the 4th year that we've been together talking sports with you. We'll be back on Thursday. We'll be right in the middle. Oh, no, wait, we won't be back on Thursday. Thursday's New Year's Day.
Yeah.
So we'll have to figure out what we're doing on Friday.
Well, I'm available on New Year's Day, but we got a lot of football games going on.
You're not going to interfere with my game.
Right. So we maybe we might adjust the time slot.
Maybe we do Friday.
Something. We'll talk about it.
We'll send out messages and let you know. But we're here Mondays and Thursdays at 1:30. Podcast brought to you by Dixieline Lumber and Home Centers. Lots of locations to serve you. Go to dixieline.com to see all the things they have to offer. Don't you wear silver and black again. What's wrong with you? John.
Touchdown, San Diego.
John, have yourself a great afternoon, and looking forward to the playoffs this Thursday, Friday, or Wednesday, Thursday, and obviously what happens in the NFL. And we'll let you know about what we got planned for the great sports weekend.
Happy New Year.
Same to you. Happy New Year to you. Thanks for being with us on Hacksaw's Headlines.
Join us again for Hacksaw's Headlines on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And find the audio version on your favorite podcast apps.
Touchdown, San Diego!
For more content, go to LeeHacksawHamilton.com.